delivered to you all, maybe you could ask some questions. So I'll call the meeting to order. As indicated, we do have a quorum. The first item of business I wanted to do is introduce Carla Blanton. Carla will be our new executive director for this year. I closed Carla's resume in our minutes, and if you'd like to say a few words, I wanted you all to get to meet her. That's why we did this in-person thing, and we'll probably go back to hybrid. The vote count I took looked like it was 50-50, so if it's easier on people to Zoom, that's fine. You know, it's whatever. I don't care, but go ahead.
Great. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and say I'm excited about getting started. I know many of you around the room from various things that I've done. I have a public relations consulting firm, so some of my other clients here in Lexington are Visit Lex. Also do work for the Kentucky Book Festival, Hope Center, Salvation Army, so those are some of the organizations, and I've been very active in Commerce Lexington and some other volunteer capacities around town. So I'm excited to get going and start sharing a little bit more intentionally and more continuously the good things that the Downtown Lexington Management District is doing and how it positively impacts businesses and residents in downtown. And I would welcome, I've talked a little bit to Clay, but if you all have things that you see, and Beverly has been very generous with her time and taking me around and telling me some things. If there are things that you see that we haven't been doing that you feel like should be being done, if there are some business owners that you think should be in particular reached out to, we want to also start doing maybe some speaking engagements. So if there are HOA boards or homeowners association meetings, neighborhood meetings that you feel like we should be a part of so that we can kind of get that message out. The last thing we want to do is wait until renewal time to start trying to say how valuable the district is to people. So we want to be doing that, you know, throughout the next several years.
Very good.
Yeah, Carla's biggest charge she got from us was to get our name out there. We do a lot of things that don't get credit for, so I'm hoping that we can turn that tide around. So, but please avail yourself of Carla. She really wants to get on the right track. And morning. So,
Kevin, you'll sit by.
I'll sit by Carla.
hello, Kevin Woodford. Come on in.
Are Jason and Lisa on Zoom? Do we know?
I can't tell.
Okay, because I didn't know whether to mark them as here.
I would think you would see them, but I did not know. Yeah, well, actually we did. Yeah, I know. We had just gotten started. We had called the meeting to order and the roll call, and Carla just did a quick introduction of herself. And like as I said, her charge is to get our name out there much more this time. We just didn't seem to get enough marketing efforts or whatever we need to make sure these folks know that they're getting value for the tax money that they're paying us. So that's one of her main charges. But get to know Carla, and I think she knows a lot. You know a lot already, but avail yourself of her talents, if you would, please. Next item is just the approval of our May 4th minutes, which seems like a lifetime ago. Does anybody have any amendments or thoughts or motions for those minutes?
I have one. Thought I made a note of it. It was just a typo. But now I can't find it, so never mind.
Okay.
Oh, it's the very last sentence. When should be went.
Last sentence, okay. All right,
Following the committee reports, the board went and went.
okay. Yep. Anything else from anybody?
I don't know if you catch those.
If not, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Second, any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Okay. Juan, you're up.
Excellent. In your board package, you should have 4 reports from me, the monthly reports and the budget, how we're going to try review it in a few minutes. The first report that we were talking about, well, it's in the label, is labeled Comparative Statement of Activities. It's a long one like this. Basically, it includes the month of June, and you'll see that there's several payments that are kind of large. One of them you'll see under account number 6400 is improvement grants. That includes the $10,000 grant for Cycle U. They have finished their, basically their project, and it was approved last time. However, we have not written a check yet just because we have not done the final review. Everything looks good. The pictures look fantastic. The other grant is the $2,306 with 50 for horse and jockey. We've seen some of the awnings that they did, and so it is included in here only because it should have been paid in June. However, because I didn't have the final report, the check will be cut in July. So it will show in our balance sheet as an accounts payable. The other large amount that I circled is the account number 6350. It's communications. That includes an invoice from the Downtown Lexington Partnership for a mail out to property owners. That was $1,310. That's normally an unusual payment, but it was approved. They did their job. They sent us all of the invoices. So we basically included in this year's as well. In the last number that you should see that's a little bit large is under account number 6510. That's management services. Normally, the payment for Downtown Lexington Partnership for the management is $4,166.67. However, because it's a transition from one manager to Carla, I needed to pay it in June. Normally, we pay him at the end. I received the invoice in June, we pay it in July. I went ahead, we had the money, I went ahead and paid it in June. They received the last payment, so the amount there is 2 months. It's May and June. That's $8,333.34. Because beginning in July, you'll see Carla's payment in that line. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. The other one that you see in there that normally is included in our year's information is the state of downtown. It's account number 6450. And so that was the $4,000, our support to downtown's presentation of the downtown Lexington. Now, a little caveat, not up to me, but I have to bring it up as a treasurer. I was a little disappointed. In all of their information, they show us up at the top. Fantastic. I mean, we share the top billing. However, in the list of sponsors, we're not listed at all. Yet the Downtown Lexington Partnership was. So I did bring that up to Terry and the people there because if I'm paying, I want to see what we're getting for our $4,000. I don't want to just see our logo. I'm sorry. I'm very picky with our money. And I figured I had to bring this up to you guys because it really pissed me off. Sorry, I'm Ecuadorian, I'm South American, I use wrong words. But I think we work hard to manage the money that the property owners give us. I think we need to receive the proper recognition for what we do. I think we all work hard at making sure that the downtown properties are well taken care of, are secured, are clean, and so forth. So that's a little sidebar. I'll never bring it up again. On the other stuff, we have been paying the additional security. That invoice comes from the office of Kathy Witt. It's continuing until November of this year. So that is included in that information. As you can see on the year to date, we ended up in the positive. We have a total of $481,148.79 of revenues and $479,741.69, leaving us a net profit of $1,407.10. Don't worry about the monthly net income, is because remember our revenues come from December through March, and this year we've used everything within the budget, and you'll see that actually we did a little bit better than originally budgeted. Any question on the monthly report and the year to date? Excellent. The next report that you should have, it's labeled.
I have a question.
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Rickey. On 6400 line item,
Yes, sir.
Cycle U, if they've gone through all the proper motions, we've approved it, we're holding up the monies because it hasn't been reviewed yet?
There's
Is that-
there's
Who
a
does
final.
that review? Yeah.
In 100%. The invoice came in June 25th. I received it, but there is one document that I received on the last 2 grants that it's a final checkoff list. I have not received that. I mean, I
My
can-
question is who is responsible for that checkoff?
That's what I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I asked
Because
Terry,
I
but
leave a
I
local
never
business
received. Yep.
hanging that's
Yep.
gone through all the proper motions and
Yep.
approvals and blah, blah, blah.
And normally I write the
Finish.
checks within a couple of days. I bring them to Jim. So it'd be a matter of today and tomorrow they to pay it.
Okay.
But I needed to put it in the financial statements because it's either putting it in there as a expense or putting there as a future payment and so it was in the right year.
Yeah.
It'd be a matter of a couple of
And I
days.
agree not to pay it until all the checks are made.
Correct. And I
It's
have.
just I didn't know what the holdup was.
100%.
with the last check.
And I have all of the documentation,
Yeah.
but if you can see, this one is simply a manual, an Excel sheet without any real indication that I've seen all the invoices. One of the invoices that they sent me was a $4,000 in down payment, and the down payment was paid after they paid the $7,250. So I have a question as to why there is a line item that says first payment paid May 25th, building complete, credit card fees owed from deposit for $1,000, May 17th.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I have to just double check before I release a $10,000 check.
Right.
And I
was
think
wondering
Carla
about the
helped me with
process.
look into something like that. And it can be just a matter of how they put it in the report, but this is what I'm gonna present to the mayor and whoever was asking, and those date discrepancies to me was a little, I don't understand. Okay, and now I'm new at that committee, so I didn't see the entire process. I was only brought in at the very end,
Right.
okay?
We've done these grants before, multiple times. I just didn't know the process-wise, what was holding up a small business getting its check.
There should be a final checklist, and that's the one I can receive.
Okay.
Do they have the final checklist?
I'm sorry?
Do you know if they have the final checklist?
I don't. Terry never responded to my email. Normally that comes from him, for whoever did it before. It's a final checklist with the pictures. I did receive the pictures, but I did not receive the final checklist. And it's just a matter of checking things off and somebody
So
writes
it's
it.
actually in the packet that someone made, that Terry has, or the business has, like, or you has the checklist, or would Terry?
Terry
the
should have.
checklist?
I don't have it.
Normally Terry handles all this, and with the final payment request coming in June 25, when we got the bill, I would have assumed that was going to be taken care of, but it looks like it might not have been, so I think we'll have to do it
We're just
ourselves.
trying to make sure the work was done.
I understand.
properly, I guess.
Yes.
Before we.
And the pictures look okay, but I just want to make sure that that's all.
Okay.
But it will be paid in the next couple of days,
Yeah.
in the regular Friday check run,
If
But thank you.
If you get the checklist.
if there's a check.
If there's a checklist.
Yeah, so Carla and I probably will look at the documents she's got, and one of us can go there, because I think both of us are in the same committee, and we can write it. As long as one of us signs it from the committee, I think it'll be fine. I don't exactly know the whole cycle, but the money's there, it's ready to run.
We'll get, Carla will look into it, we'll make sure we get them taken care of, check it off, button it up, and get them checked to them. I think
But
it
thank
just
you for bringing that
fell
up. Yes,
through
we
the
try
cracks.
to be as expeditiously as I can. I have to apologize to the sheriff because we received the May invoice, but we never received the April. So finally, we got our lines together, and I had to deliver it personally because, again, it's one of those things that I don't want us to fall behind on anything. We did fall behind when I first took over. We were behind on a couple invoices. I'm trying to do it every other week, run our payables and send it to Jim with his approval. And so it's a matter of a couple of days. It should never be more than that.
Right, okay. And in here, glad to have Sheriff Witt join us, and
Sorry
you were
to be
mentioned
late.
earlier in the financials and so forth, but At some point, I'd like to maybe hear from Sheriff Wood about how things are going. And
Yeah, you came, because you were late, you missed that
Did I miss
comment.
that?
You
I
missed
was
that.
late,
No,
so I apologize.
She's
Sorry.
gonna be on, she's gonna
You
take
never
my.
go into the office and then expect to be able to get somewhere else by 8:30,
That's
so
right.
just don't go.
She's gonna-
Don't go to the office.
She's gonna address
Yeah,
it.
just
She's
to
gonna
kinda get
address it.
feedback, how
Right, that's why she's here.
opinions, yeah, okay.
Any other questions of Juan? You got more you want to present on the on the arts of the financials?
So the next report is our budget year-to-date actuals. As you can see, the numbers on that column are exactly the same on the actual as the one just presented, and we're doing better than expected. Our budget year-to-date was initially had us being $35.84 net income. As you can see, we have a net income of $1,407.10. The areas of concern are, and I had to address it in our next year's budget, is our block-by-block services. We did not do a good job of budgeting that correctly, so we are above 46,000 on that line. On the hospitality ambassadors, we didn't do a good job there either, and we're 3,000 above. And finally, on the equipment, which is that mule, Kawasaki mule, we're 811 above. All the other lines are those that are a little bit above, are like in management, is simply because we were catching up on a couple of months that we missed on the 2020-2021 budget. So we caught those up, and this year we're up to date. So there on the management line, we basically are above budget by 5,447. And then the only other two items that we need to maybe look into it is the website design and management. We originally had budgeted only $200. It is year to date is $1,484 with 48 cents, and that's because we moved the website from QX.net to a new service. So that went into effect, and the monthly subscription were up by 123. But even with those numbers being above budget, we ended up being a total of, like I said, $1,407.10. So I feel like we did pretty good. We caught everything up, we managed, and we still ended up in the positive. We don't have any money to move forward except the $1,400 from this year to next year. So I'm very excited. I think everybody did great. I appreciate David's and Block by Block. They work with us incredibly to catch up some of the invoices that were either missing or somehow we didn't get it.
We're also going to take a look at this website design and maintenance. I never signed this contract. That was done by DLP in the last 30 days. I've never seen it, I didn't even laid eyes on it, and it's too expensive. We can't afford that for what we're getting, so I've asked Carla and Brian Powers, who works here, to look into this, see if we can maybe get out of that contract. That doesn't make any sense, so.
Who's the contract with?
Wiesner?
Nancy Weiser,
Yeah.
Strategies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we still have one more invoice that came just a couple of days ago for $900. So I didn't even put it in here. We have to look at what's going on. That puts us way above $2,000 from our budget on that new line item. Yes. So. Any questions on the year-to-date budget? Excellent. The last one is the balance sheet. Again, we ended up on the positive. We have in the bank, we have $186,607.42. Don't get too excited because we borrowed that money from here until November when we start receiving our tax money. So it should last us, and we should be okay all the way till about December, January. That's when all of the monies come in from the Sheriff's Office, and they're doing a great job of even giving me the detail. I showed Carla as to the detail I get. So it's excellent that that information comes to us. We see it every month. We put it in there with the discounts that obviously we have calculated for their services, and also the 2% discount for the people that pay early. And by the way, we ended up even better on there, on both sides. We had budgeted $20,187.50 for the 4.25% that goes to the sheriff's office. Year-to-date, $19,118. So we ended up better on $269, and the 2% discount, not everybody took advantage of that, so we ended up also having to write off less on that, and we came up with $1,673.18 above budget. And so we have, as I indicated, we have $186,607.42. Normally we use $170 to $180 until November and December, so we should be okay. We haven't had to borrow from the city, and I don't expect us to. And as you see in the liabilities, we have 13.
I'm not going over asking for money. That'd be Carla's job, that's right.
And the only thing that we have as a liability are the 13,616. That includes the 10,000, the 2003, and the mail out that we still owe the DLP. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is basically on the proposed budget.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay.
Yep, yes, ma'am. Perfect, thank you.
Where is the 10,000 that we gave for the sculpture?
For the what?
Sculpture, the moving of the sculpture, is that showing up yet?
Yes, but it will be in the proposed budget.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
John had-
Because it was not gonna happen in the 2022 to
Okay, I
20,
didn't know if you
2021 to
did.
2022 budget. It's included in the next
Okay.
year's budget.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions on the financials year to date? Okay. The last thing that I would like to go over with you is the 2022-2023 proposed budget. We have kept our revenues about the same, a little bit less than last year, and you'll see that we have a $30,000 difference from last year. Last year was $481,148, and it's because the $30,000 from the city is not there. That is just not there. Unless we hear from them, I didn't expect it, I didn't put it in there. So the new revenue budget is $451,148.71. However, we still have part of the downtown security that is encumbered on the 2021-2022 budget. I put it in zero because that is from the last budget as well. And it's not, it's gonna be paid this year. But as far as your question, the grants, as you can see, we had originally included or thought that we were wanting to spend $25,000 on improvement grants. We only used of that budget.
19.
We only used 19,806. So the sculpture will be in that $25,000 line. It is line number 6,400. The other parts of the budget, it includes like I said, a better calculation of what we should pay for block by block services and for block by block hospitality ambassadors. That's included in this year's budget. And you'll see that also we increased from 5,500, which was a lighting budget in this year's budget. For next year, we have 18,500. So we have 25,000 for downtown improvements. Of those 10,000, I think that the downtown center, the central bank center will take 10,000. We still have 15,000 to award, and 18,500 for lighting grants. That brings us a total still on the net income of $1,348.79. So we basically have a balanced budget for next year.
So for the downtown improvements, we'll actually only have 15,000.
That is correct.
And Jim, are you comfortable with prices going where they seem to be constantly, that the block by block numbers are good?
Well, I kind of wanted to have a conversation about that, and David and I have talked about it. You know, that 30,000 that we picked up, those 2 extra ambassadors, was an add-on to the contract, and we did it for security reasons. If you remember, Mary Quinn, we brought some extra folks, and we kind of made it a permanent position, but those 2 were added on. So on the block by block, and I've talked to Anthony, I think our numbers are pretty strong and they're set. If we wanted to phase that one out, that's one place we could pick up another 30,000. The question is, do we lose too much bang for our buck with that? I don't know.
Would it have to be both ambassadors?
No, not at all. We could maybe, I'd like to have a little more money for grants, quite frankly, than 15,000 going into the year. I like the lighting budget, Beverly. I think it's good that we've got that much, but I mean, maybe we could talk about maybe taking that in half. I don't know. Cheryl's call.
Be great just to do half, because the one that I have for the mornings, I would love to keep him. He's become like a fixture there, where everyone is used to seeing him. People coming to work in the mornings, they look for him. If he's not there, they ask me where he is. So he's important. The afternoon one, not so much. I mean, you know, it's good to have him there, but the morning guy, I would love, you know, riding the mirror.
Yeah, you can't get rid of Rodney.
Okay.
Can't.
Gotcha.
That's just
All
how I
right.
feel about it.
All right. So you want to take a look at maybe deaccessing the afternoon ambassador? Does that sound feasible? What do y'all think?
Can we do it in a way where if you do it, we hold the money there until we see how letting the person not filling that goes, and then if it's going, if David thinks it's going okay, then you can move that,
Move
but
it.
you leave it in place until you really see how it's going.
I think the main reason having him, it won't affect that much in the afternoons is because then the safety ambassadors will be on. See, in the mornings, I don't have the safety ambassadors. So that's why Friday is more important. If I lose the afternoon guy, I've got 2 safety ambassadors plus the cleaning ambassador who's working, that still can cover that.
What do you think, Woodford? I mean,
I'll second your motion.
okay, I made that motion. I mean,
I agree, yeah.
because of the safety.
Yeah, I think if everybody likes this morning person.
Everybody loves this morning person.
Under the,
What she said.
under the government accounting standards for GASB, which is what dictates what we do and what we don't do, it is explicitly indicated that city boards have the right to actually hold monies wherever you want to. And they are up to this board to later decide to reallocate it. So if you guys want to see it there, I don't have to make any changes. It will stay there. It will show the positive month by month as we accrue. But remember, under GASB rules, we have then the ability, and normally the cities do it on a half a year or so, where we can reestablish, reconvene, look at the budget. As long as we don't change any major form, we can move things up and down without any necessity to go back to the city, is my understanding.
My only point was safety's been such an item that it might be good just to let it see how it works before we reallocate.
And what time is the afternoon person
Yeah.
anyway?
He's from 2 to 6.
I don't think there's a whole lot going on between
Yeah.
2 and 6.
Yeah.
I will say when it gets darker out earlier,
Yeah.
as the leader of a largely female staff, it is nice to have extra bodies. We've had a couple of incidents.
And like I said, that's when I can make sure that the safety ambassadors will be out.
Yep.
We have others, yeah.
Yep.
And how early does it get dark?
Not,
5 in the winter?
4:30.
Yeah.
4:30. It's less of an issue, it seems like, during those lighter months, but.
And Rodney's out from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m.
So that would give us 2 months to see if it works okay in between now and then.
So we've got a motion on the floor. We have a second by Woodford. We have more discussion about it? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? David, if you would, call Anthony for me, and if he wants to talk to me, we can walk through but I'd like this get communicated to Anthony, okay? And then you can take care of the individual?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This budget was approved by the council, I guess it was last month I went over, I believe, and so we have their approval to do it. I wanted you all to approve it, and I guess we need a motion now to approve formally from the board the financial statements as presented by Juan, as well as the proposed budget for 22-23. We have any motions?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Thomas. We have a second?
Second.
Second.
I'm
Any other
sorry.
discussion? That was
Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor
Okay.
Kay. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great, thank you. We have a new item on our agenda. It's called the Lexington Fayette Urban County Government Update. We have Vice Mayor Kay and Councilmember Hannah LeGree here to give us updates on, from the council's perspective. Floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Jim. Vice Mayor Kay and I are going to give some updates. Some of you all have heard some of these depending on what work groups or sessions you've been a part of, but we wanted to make sure to share them with everyone. We're in our last week before the break for council, so we go on break until mid-August. And a couple of things I wanted to share that are relevant to this group. With the budget for this year, $172,000 for Tandy Park and all of the surrounding areas for lighting updates. That includes string lighting, that includes LED lighting, new street lights, and also bright lights that we could turn on all around that area. So that's really exciting. And that money should cover that comprehensive package, no problem. Something we're really excited about, I know Beverly, we've talked about this, is that the LED lights inside the pavilion can be programmed. So they can be programmed to be different colors, to be bright, to turn on at a certain time. So I think that'll be a pretty positive and dynamic improvement. In addition, $90,000 for Breeders' Cup updates and improvements were approved. That's an additional $90,000 for the Tandy Park area as well. And Parks will be working on what form that will take. So of course that's closer to the fall, headed toward November. And I will get the timeline on the lighting improvements. Something that you all may have known about from the past budget is that we got funding for a redesign study for Phoenix Park. And that redesign update will be coming this summer, so we'll have a sense. There's a lot of community input, a lot of dialogue about that. We'll have a sense of what direction that's taking, so that's positive. Dougie is chair of this. Kevin is also on this group. There's a Mayor's Downtown Safety Work Group that's been appointed by Mayor Gorton, and that work group is continuing to meet and share updates. We have a number of business owners and individuals from government and public safety who are involved with that group to share the type of information like what you were talking about earlier, what's working, what's not working, what we can do together, and how we can make sure that downtown is as safe as possible, and just making sure that everybody has accurate information about what's going on. And then you all may have seen that the art carts are along Town Branch Commons, Town Branch Trail. That's really positive. So we have local artists who are going to be featured there. Heather Lyons has been working hard on that initiative. Speaking of the trail, we have obviously continued to work on that trail system. And just so you all know, I have an update from Brandy Peacher that the ribbon is going to be cut this fall, so that's good. There is some remaining work, and if you've been watching the progress, you'll know that that's primarily on Midland Avenue, closer to DV8 with the water features and whatnot. So we're really excited about that. And kind of in that same area, you all may have seen construction with Splash at Charles Young Park, and that's going to be a wonderful project for adults and for kids, for families, and it's a big splash pad in addition to the new playground. That project will also fully, I know this is a little bit outside of our scope, but I think it's relevant, that will also fully renovate the restroom building, and construction will be ongoing until spring 2023. and that's when it's slated to open, that part of the splash project. One other thing, and then if you have any additional updates, Vice Mayor Kay, yesterday I entered into committee reassessment and enforcement of the noise ordinance. I know that we get a lot of complaints about noise. We will be working on research, Vice Mayor Kay's office and mine, to see what's possible with that ordinance and working with public safety in that process. So I know that we all get complaints and input about the noise. Just know that we're in the process of researching and working on that. Vice Mayor?
Well, I just add one thing about the noise ordinance. It was interesting because Mayor Gordon, when she was on council previously, worked with another council member for 3 years on a noise ordinance, which eventually council refused to pass. But it was not. It was different. It was about industrial, the impact of industrial activity on residential neighborhoods. What this is aimed at primarily is, and Thomas, you'll appreciate, it's the Main Street and actually there's a loop around Main and 30th, et cetera, but it's vehicular noise. The motorcycles, the souped up cars, people who live and work along Main Street in the evening, it's just gotten out of hand. So the question really is what can be done legally and what can be done in terms of enforcement. We know that the police have their hands full. We don't want to take them away from crime enforcement, but it's a quality of life issue. So we'll see. First, we'll see what's possible, and then we'll see what the council might be interested in implementing. But I also wanted to add something. This is less of a direct impact on downtown, but I thought you might want to know that there is a group that I appointed that is, for lack of a better title, it's called the Goal 4 Working Group. And I have to be careful how I say that because it's got a bunch of R's in it, and if I say it quickly, nobody knows what I just said. Anyway, Goal 4, and it refers to Goal 4 in the present comprehensive plan, which speaks to the question of whether we expand the urban service boundary or not. And there's been work on the demand side with a consulting group that brought forward information about available land within the urban service boundary. But the second part of that is to look at land outside and see what land really should be preserved and what land can potentially be useful as development going forward, and under what conditions decisions would be made about that. So we have convened a multi-stakeholder group that had its first meeting a week and a half ago, and we'll meet again next week with the aim to work in parallel with the Planning Commission, which is working now on goals and objectives for the upcoming comprehensive plan. The people who are on that, myself and Councilmember James Brown are the co-chairs. Councilmember Amanda Bledsoe and Kathy Ploman are other council members. And then from the community, Stephen Howard, Bess Jackson, Nick Nicholson, Rusty Underwood, Bill Witt, Judy Worth, and Anthony Wright. And we aimed at having a group that, on the face of it, anybody in the community looking at it would say, oh yeah, I see that someone who might share my viewpoint is included. So it's broadly representative. We are aiming to get our work done in the fall at the same time that the Planning Commission works on the rest of the goals and objectives. So that will have potentially an impact on the whole community, but it will make a difference in downtown as well. So.
Thank you both. Any questions for the council?
So Hannah, what is the timetable for doing the lighting improvements in Tandy Park and the pavilion?
I can find, some of them are more immediately actionable, like the string lights, and I can ask Monica
Yeah.
Conrad about the rest of the installation, since that budget was just approved July 1.
So is the goal to have some of those lights in place in time for Breeders' Cup?
Yes, but I'll check with Monica for the exact timeline,
Yeah.
and I can send that out. Yeah.
Yeah, noise is important, not only for the local residents that live downtown, but also the hotels. I mean, I've never stayed at 21C, but I've heard about the windows are original, they're older. You know, Residence Inn has some noise issues, I know for sure. But a lot of it's the revved up motorcycles running through, and I don't really know how to solve it. There may be a way to do that.
I think the question is, we have a noise ordinance that talks about decibels, but it does not specify what that level is.
Yeah.
It talks about impact and how far from a particular source you can hear it. But other communities have instituted decibel levels, and there are decibel meters, so you could, in the best of all possible worlds, you set a standard, you enforce for some time, and let people know that if they've got a vehicle that's exceeding that, they're gonna get ticketed. You know, whether that's possible or not, and, you know, how it'll all work, we don't know yet, but that's the thought, is just to calm it down.
In the urban services area, I mean, expansion, you know, the conversation about that is important as well. And it shows how important infill redevelopment is for downtown, to go up and not out. So I'll throw that out there. And then on the art carts, I've talked to Heather a little bit. We have 3 blocks with multiple art carts that are chained together and have been for weeks with no manning of the carts. When they first came out, there was a lady in front of the Marriott for 2 days, and then she's been gone ever since. And I've talked to Heather multiple times about it, but you know, the question that we talked about was, do we move them in at night and things like that? But a little bit unsightly having chained up carts, even though they're attractive looking carts. But I mean, would you want a bunch of bikes chained up on these brand new sidewalks that the city spent so much money to implement and so much time? I mean, I'd rather see people out there with the carts, but she's telling me that it's too hot and that she can't get anybody to work them. Well, if that's the case, then, you know, maybe there's a place we can store them rather than them just sitting there. I mean, drive by, you'll notice them. I mean, if you look for them, but they're in front of the Hilton Vine Center block, the Lexington Financial Center, Marriott, all along Vine Street, you've got chained up carts with brand new city sidewalks, and
That's really good.
it's a struggle how to solve it.
She has, Ms. Heather, she has a storage spot for those, and the artists stopped coming back. It was because it was warm, but also because of where they were located, there was no foot traffic. So the artists were kind of upset about being right there. I noticed this morning that they moved some over to the visitor center at Tandy Pop. I don't know if they're gonna move the other ones, but Ms. Heather said she was working on it, trying to get more artists to participate. But the thing was, they just wanted to get from right there. And I let her know she has a spot right beside where we keep our stuff at. And I forgot what she said the other one was, but she can move those.
But she said it's too hard and she can't get the artists to move them. I mean, I think she's trying to tweak things to make them better. But it's just,
she is.
Yeah.
So can they be put away until?
Well, that's what, I think she's looking at maybe trying to do. But it is getting hot out there. I mean, especially without trees and.
Yeah, she was right there. The artists were right there in the sun.
And it looks so paint.
Yeah.
That's right. And we do have some in our parking garage at the city too. And maybe it's an issue of tweaking and logistics and being realistic about when people are going to be out and when they're going to be most successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was mad. She said, I've been out here 2 days and I haven't sold anything, David. So, like you said, it's something that needs to be tweaked.
Yeah.
That's the goal from the carts, is for them to sell their, actually hoping to sell their artwork.
Yeah, hopefully sell it and just to showcase.
The showcase makes sense. I guess during the week, it seems like a tough
But it seemed like they would use it mainly like on Saturdays when you got the farmers market going on, or larger events that might come in. But on a regular day, like regular during the week,
Regular
it's not-
Wednesday.
yeah, it's not a whole lot going on. So they are unsighted being right there being.
Any other questions of our council?
Just make an observation. My office is right on the sidewalk at Limestone and Vine. And I've been there for 10 years. And 2 or 3 times a day are these motorcycles or mufflers on vehicles. It's an annoyance, but I don't know how much money we want to spend to try to solve that. It's not that big a deal to me, because I'm there 8 hours a day, right there. I can hear it all. Just my observation.
But you're not trying to sleep either.
It gets worse than
It gets worse at night.
You're not sleeping during work hours.
That's good business talk.
Only
And maybe, you know,
1:30 to 4.
And maybe, you know, some of this is, if we're doing any kind of pilot, we concentrate some of our efforts, even up and down Main Street, you know, these are, or all the way down Nicholasville Road, these are complaints I get, because people
Yeah.
use it as a strip.
Richmond Road, I mean,
Yeah,
they-
Winchester, yeah.
Just a drag race.
Okay, thank you all for that report. I think we'll make this a permanent fixture, so if you guys, sometimes there'll be more than others, but we appreciate you bringing those informations to us. I'm going to yield my chairman's report time to Sheriff Kathy Wood, who I asked to come. I called her last night. As always, she always answers my phone call, bless your heart. I'm sure you wish you did, but I want you to kind of tell us an update and then let some folks ask any questions they might have.
Yeah, so can I first see what businesses are represented here?
Sure.
I know Dougie and Woodford, and what other businesses do we have
Well,
represented?
Mary Quinn's
here?
got Visit Lex.
Of course.
You know.
Of course.
Any other?
Lock and lot real estate.
Lock and Lot. Okay.
I think that's it.
What was your business? You said you're at Lime and...
He's the bank.
Oh, of
banker.
course, okay,
Yeah.
of course. Okay, so we were asked to start this project in April, I think it was April the 6th, and we were asked to work Wednesday through Saturday nights. After we did it in April, we saw that Wednesdays really weren't productive for you all, so I talked to Jim and asked him if we could just move it to Thursday through Saturday to be better spenders of your tax dollars, and he agreed, and so we have since done it every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. We work from 10 to 2 a.m. Oftentimes, we have folks who are already on duty, so at 10 o'clock, they move into this project so that it's not overtime. At midnight, then, they go into overtime, so that's another better expense of your dollars. We're saving your dollars in that area. It is a sign-up. It's a voluntary project. We put sign-up sheets up a month in advance, and we get volunteers. If they don't get volunteers, then commanders work with the group to try to get it staffed. And so we have seen a lot of things, and we've done this project. We did it pre-pandemic, and so we sort of look at it pre-pandemic and now, and we have seen, as I'm sure you all have as business owners, we have seen a tremendous difference in patrons. There is a lot more alcohol consumption now than there was pre-pandemic. A lot. I can't stress a lot. It's a lot. There's more verbal disorders. There's more physical disorders. Again, we staff it with 2 people because that's what we were asked to do, to staff it with 2 sworn officers. That's in addition to whatever LPD staffs it as. I don't know how they staff it. I don't know whether it's overtime, whether it's with a security company, I don't know. But we see them there, we work with them. This is in addition to what we do in the Victorian Square garage. But we have made multiple arrests for alcohol intoxication, disorderly conduct, other misdemeanor arrests. We have also made an arrest and an assault on our officer, who's now in a workers' comp case. He's probably going to have shoulder surgery due to an assault on him. But we just see that the patrons in that area are more aggressive post-pandemic. And we're happy to do it. We're happy to
hear any criticism or compliments you want to give us. We do get lots of compliments from patrons who are not intoxicated, who thank us for being there. People walk up to the staff all the time and thank them. Recently we had a employee of an establishment approach our officers and say that they had refused service to an individual who then became irate and showed that he had a firearm, that he was carrying a firearm. So we're seeing a lot more folks, now that we're in an open carry state, we're seeing a lot more folks carry firearms into this area. Our officers were able to identify him, interviewed him, had a report filed on him. His most recent employer found out about it, called and started an investigation. He probably lost his job over it, and probably, well, he should have. So that's just sort of a snapshot of what we have encountered downtown. The parking lot across the street from Victorian Square Garage is a problem. It's a hotbed. I know I was on a recent phone call with, I guess, Hannah, I guess you, or Dougie maybe, or that's your group, organized that call. And I hope that maybe the commander has been able to reach out to that property owner, because we need that person's help. We need to light that place up. We need to make it a place that people don't want to hang out, in my opinion. Yeah, because I know that you want your businesses to flourish, and we want law-abiding folks who are not highly intoxicated to visit our downtown, right?
I might jump in real quick. Urban issues like this are not unique to Lexington. I mean, it's all over the country. People are pent up after COVID. They're wanting to get out. The weather's nicer. It's getting hotter. So, not that that's an excuse at all, but what are other cities doing to try to, because we're not unique, what are other cities doing to try to solve things like this? Is it curfews? I mean, things that the council might consider down the road. I don't really like the idea of curfews, but things like that. I think everything should be on the table, for public safety here.
I would agree that everything should be on the table. I was recently in Kansas City, in just the middle of downtown Kansas City, and I didn't see any of what I saw. I've worked this detail myself because I wanted to see what my staff was seeing. I wanted to see what they were experiencing. We made 2 arrests the night I was there.
Right.
Yeah, both alcohol-related arrests.
We would always get frustrated when the Herald Leader would publish a story saying no shooting downtown, but it was actually on 7th Street. Well, now it's all kind of going, it's downtown.
It is downtown.
I mean, it's at the Opera House. It's at Broadway and Main.
Well, it's at the 4th of July parade in Illinois.
Right. Yeah. The exaggeration isn't there anymore. That so-and-so, such and such happened downtown. Now it is really in the heart of downtown. So it's scary for locals and visitors alike.
Well, I think shots fired calls are up everywhere, not just in Lexington, but across America. And that's probably a discussion maybe for another day. But shots fired calls and seeing what we saw in Illinois are up across America. So we have shots fired on Chenaway. We have shots fired downtown. We have shots fired in Winburn. So they're up.
People realize there are cameras everywhere downtown. But you add cell phones to that. I mean, if you're outside, you're potentially more than likely on camera.
And Woodford, I think you're right. Post-pandemic, people have been pent up for almost 2 years. I know that our mental health calls are off the grid. Mental health is in a crisis right now, and we are transporting individuals every day who either are being petitioned to get help or who are asking for help, who are calling in asking, can you come get me? I need to go to a mental health facility. And so they're soaring. And so you have that. You have the increase in people carrying firearms. You have people who have been isolated for so long. And But I think that, I think that we have a concern that we need to address collectively here downtown.
Your experience in Kansas City, you were about to say, was that better?
I saw none of what I saw when I worked this shift on this detail. And I was in the very heart of downtown, and I researched it a little bit because I knew I would have a couple of nights where maybe I could get out and sort of see what was going on. I don't know what they're doing that's different. I would now like to follow up to see maybe what they're doing, because, I was checking the crime rate and I thought, seems like they have a lot of crime there, and I was going to be there by myself, so I sort of researched it before I went. But then when I got there, I'm like,
The one thing we've experienced in the last couple of years is it's a younger crowd, specifically just downtown in general. It's just a much younger crowd than it was pre-pandemic. And we feel like that's a big part of the issue. Most of the issues that we see are not patrons of downtown. They're just people hanging out downtown. And a lot of that is younger people that are just hanging out downtown. So though that extra crowd, the mature people, the people we want to attract, they're deciding I'm just going to stay home, or they're not going to come. They're just at a certain time, they just go home. So that's been a big challenge that I see when I'm working downtown late, is that it's just a bunch of younger people, and they are drinking, and a lot of times they're drinking stuff that they brought downtown themselves. I mean, they're not in anybody's establishment. They have their own party. That parking lot you mentioned, they did add lights last year. It is much brighter than it used to be. But you were on that call. I mean, the police department cannot physically go into that lot unless they have a reason to, which doesn't make sense to me, but it's law. I mean, it is what it is. So it's that is probably the biggest part of the problem, in my opinion, is that parking lot.
I wouldn't disagree with you. That's why I would like to see that owner of that parking lot become a partner.
Yeah.
Become a partner.
So,
The owner of the lot is not on the call with you guys?
no.
Do y'all know who the owner is?
We, I think we figured that out. Someone knew last call, so.
Who the owner is?
Of that parking lot.
Yeah, it's a family in Paris, Kentucky, I think, and then they rent it out to sort of parking, or whatever it's called, SP parking.
SP Plus.
Yeah, SP Plus.
SP had
Manage it.
a representative last summer for a period of time, and she did a great job. But I wouldn't want that job. I mean, that's a tough job, people that are just hanging out drinking, and you gotta go tell them they need to, pay to park there, or what. I mean, nobody wants that job, and, so that, to me, that's someone with a little more authority or a badge needs to have that responsibility. I mean, and it's not bad every weekend, but maybe it is. After things close at 2:30, for about 30 minutes to an hour, it's like a party. And if you're not in there encouraging people, hey, go home, get out of the sunroof, get back in the car. I mean, I closed one night 2 weeks ago, and I don't even want we're closing early, because I don't even want my staff to be downtown after 2:30. And I hate to do that because I lose a lot of money by doing that, but it's just more important to get my people home than to try to stay open later. And again, it's probably a 2:30 to 3 o'clock problem, realistically. So
I talked to the police department. They said that the businesses in the area are doing a good job maintaining, but it is absolutely that street, it's the parking lot, and so I just kept hammering on, what do you suggest we do? And for starters, he said, and this is a sergeant, he said, report things as they happen immediately, because that seems to be the number one problem, that no one's reporting things as they happen quick enough. And then 2 was to close the parking on Short Street, which I know is probably really hard. Put bags over the parking meters would probably help, because there's people just sitting in their cars. I don't know if that's true or not.
No, it is sometimes. I'm not a huge fan of that plan. But it can be a lot of times, people, if they find a spot, they'll just hang out in those spots, so. But if it's not there, they'll hang out somewhere else. You know, because the garage is there and then you have the parking lot, it would be, I think what would make a huge difference that you can't do is to just close down Short Street. You know, at whatever time it's kind of foot traffic only. Obviously, you have to get in the parking garage. So you would almost have to do it at Mill Street. And I think there's just a lot of traffic of people going through that they're just driving through just to see what's going on. And
The problem's gonna get bad, because I think they're 100 officers down is what they told me, and there were only approximately 46 applicants, and nobody wants to pick up that overtime shift because it's just not worth it. They want to be reactionary, and that's not what we wanted to do. You know, what's the quality of cameras that we have up there? Are they decent, do we know?
So the cameras, of course, in the garage are outstanding. I don't have knowledge of where the flock cameras are, if that's what you're talking about. Are you talking about the flock cameras?
Yes.
Yeah, they're license plate readers.
Okay.
So they're not capturing individuals.
Okay.
They're capturing plates.
What about putting, I know it's not the sheriff's department, but one of those police lifts that you see at the mall, way up high, it's got the tinted windows, you don't know if anybody's in it or not?
We have talked to.
Plug one of those
we
right
have
in the
talked
middle of the
about
parking
that,
lot.
and I don't know.
And set it out there. I'm sure they have cameras on them.
We have talked about
Great
that,
idea.
and we have talked about that with the police
Yeah.
department.
Okay.
I'm not the police department, is what I'm trying to differentiate, but we have a great relationship with the police department.
And there again, you'd have to have the property owner's permission. And
one of our calls we had, I guess it's SP Plus, did not want to give up a space for the tower thing.
Really, I'd probably take up more than one space.
I think they need
Or
to revisit that.
to a couple spaces or something.
Yeah.
Because I think it would make a tremendous
If you'd
difference.
rather do that than let's make it shut.
But do they
Well, we
just
can
vacate
revisit.
and go somewhere else then?
Well, you know, from a budget standpoint, I don't know how much a parking permit is for that lot, but I mean, it may make sense to just buy a couple parking spots and put one of the things in it. I don't have a lot of knowledge on those towers, if someone's actually in them or if it's just a bunch of cameras or whatever, but
They had them there before.
they did it once last summer for, I don't know how long.
Yeah, and that's something that we talk about on our calls, the bagging of meters, bringing in additional lights, bringing in a lift. And, you know, it's kind of a back and forth thing, like, is this friendly to business? Is it effective in terms of safety? How do we strike the balance between both? And we can talk to Commander Newman about that again. But some of it is about also, if we are doing things like bagging the meters, making sure that people know and that messaging goes out and they know the why. So Dougie and I, you know, in our downtown safety work group, these are some of the themes that we revisited from last summer. And some of the lighting initiatives, you know, around Tandy Park are part of that. How do you make it so that it doesn't look abrasive, but it's functional? And that's what we're always trying to work on.
Well, particularly there was, when they first did it, I came downtown, it was about 11 o'clock, and there was police all down the street. And I was like, what the heck's going on? And, but they were towing and ticketing and doing all of that, but it looked like a problem. It just, like if I was going down to patronize a business, I just would have kept going. It just looked really bad. And then you had people inside businesses that, you know, at 10 o'clock or 10:30, and this was just the first time they did it. They bagged the meters, and people didn't have any notice. So everybody's running out of establishments to go move their car and stuff. So it was just really bad initially. So there's a lot of. My biggest thing with it was it looked bad when you at 11 o'clock you got all these police cars downtown writing tickets and towing people, and it was just it looked pretty bad.
So as business owners, what would you want the sheriff's office to do differently?
You know what, I think the problem isn't what they're doing, the problem is it's just not enough. So, you know, if you had 8 out there, but, you know, I think, and this is probably not a sheriff, you know, this is probably not a sheriff's department thing, it's probably more of a Lexington Police Department thing that I've shared in our group, that a lot of times they're just kind of, you know, 6 to 8 people just kind of hanging out in a little group rather than walking around and just being more visible. I think that would help out a lot, just for them to just move around.
I heard you say that on
Even
the
if,
call.
I mean, yeah, it's just about being a part of the community. And I think if they walk around, maybe talk to people or say hi, or anything, you know, just so that people know, okay, well, I can't go downtown and be stupid. I gotta, you know, because they're gonna walk by eventually. But things that we see in the parking lot is that, you know, it becomes a party.
Well, they're running bars out of their trunk.
Yeah, they're just hanging out. They'll walk to the liquor store over around the corner. They'll get a bottle of whatever, and they'll just hang out. And you know, if law enforcement would just walk through every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or whatever, I think that would deter a lot of that behavior. But because they just kind of hang out in a group, and then if something happens, they're there. But I mean, let's prevent it from happening by just being more visible. So
That was the complaint of another business owner over there. He said that when they're there, they're just standing together. They're not moving around. Like you said, there's no visibility. They're staying in one spot. And once something happens, you know, all of them will go to that spot then. But he was saying that they need to separate. They're always together in a group. They're never, you know, mixing amongst the crowd or anything.
And that's what we had brought up in discussion with Commander Newman, and she said that she would reinforce more of that walking patrol, but I can check back in with her and say, I don't know if you've noticed any changes. I mean, that wasn't that long ago, obviously.
no, it was what, 2 weeks ago we had
Yeah.
that call, and so I'll check with my staff and see if they've noticed any difference. I've been out of town these last couple weekends, but the way she presented it is like, well, we'll try to get them to. No, they have to do it. Like
Yeah.
you don't try to get them. They have to do that.
And maybe it's pairs versus
Maybe they
one.
feel
Is
safe.
it safer as two?
That's what.
I'm sure they do.
Fairly.
You know,
It's their job.
Yeah, but not 6.
So as we know what we have now, we have 2 from the DLMD, 10 to 2, and then the LPA, the Parking Authority, has 2 from 12 to 4 a.m. I think that's the shift you worked one time. Anyway. I gotta stay there. Wow. Anyway, so we do have, and that's 2 different pots of money, but there are 4 people. I don't know if, in the garage perspective, we've even talked about installing an iron gate and just mesh gate and close it. And then they can make a phone call to let people out, but to close the garage down to vehicular traffic at a certain time.
They just built something on that lot.
That was actually the police department's recommendations of just development. Are your guys worried though? I mean, are they, when they're there, is that a hard shift for them? Do they not want to take that shift? Is it, because that was the impression I got, is they're worried from all angles about taking that shift.
They're worried
Scared.
about what?
Their own safety for one, they're worried about PR being caught on camera making an arrest, they're worried about.
They're not worried about making an arrest.
Okay.
We're pro arrest. I mean, you know, but
Yeah.
we're law enforcement, we're
And
pro.
it's just police departments I'm talking about, I was not, that's who I talked to, so.
Okay, I'm glad you
Yes.
differentiated that. We're pro arrest. We have no problem making arrests. I will say that for the first time, and I've been honored to do this work for a long time, for the first time, our group probably has some apprehensiveness, if you will, or anxiety, maybe a little. I don't really want to use anxiety because they have been involved in back-to-back-to-back shootings, which they're customarily not involved in. You know, it's usually not us, it's usually LPD. But it started with the funeral that we did for the 3rd adult male homicide victim, and we're coming out of the church. I usually go to all of those. It was on a Saturday. I was not there at that one, but I just hung up from the sergeant. He said, it all went well, Sheriff. We're getting ready to leave and start the procession. We always do the escorts, but if you have an unsolved homicide, we're on the inside of the church. The minister's worried, the family's worried, so we're inside during those services. They were coming out. A group had already congregated outside and somebody got shot in the back of the head. And so they were responding to that, and then as soon as that's over, a few days later, there's a shooting on Short Street during the detail that they're working. And then they've since had another. And so, they had the one in front of the courthouse plaza. So, they've had 3 back-to-back major incidents that they customarily aren't involved in. So there's a little, and I had a citizen reach out to me just yesterday and said, I was trying to interact with the officers during the parade and they seemed so tense. Had they gotten an alert about Illinois? And I'm like, no, because they're an hour behind us. And so I said, well, what were you saying? Number one, what were you saying to them? And he was saying, we're for the FOP, we're for police, blah, blah. And I said, we just got a bunch of young officers out right now, right? We've got a whole bunch of young officers out right now trying to, who have stood up and said, I want to do good for a living, and I'm going to serve even in this time. But it's a different era. It's a different era than when it was when I first started, so, yeah.
So do you think it's feasible, do you think it's realistic at all for that parking lot to be converted to a park?
I think that,
You mentioned that.
I think the owner of the parking lot needs to be a partner. Needs
So
to be a
has-
partner in the safety of downtown. And right now, it appears, just from being on that call I was on, they're not being a partner. They're not saying, light it up, do this, bring in LPD's equipment and light it up. They're not. They're silent. But Commander Newman said she would try to reach out to that owner when I was on that call with you all.
Yeah, and she's wonderful.
She's great.
She's been working, Commander Newman is wonderful. She's been working so hard. She's been so creative, so receptive.
Oh, she's great.
And so just know that she's looking for these solutions along with us and.
All the police officers are great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So actually, somebody has reached out to that family that owns that parking lot.
She was going to do that.
enlist
She was
their-
going to do that.
their
Yeah.
help, yeah.
We could be here for months talking about this one.
Yeah.
We got to get moving. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
David, you want to give us a quick report?
I'll make it real quick. The only thing I really wanted to talk about, I did a couple of changes on the stats. And one of the things that I added, the more important one was, a lot of times that you'll see on the request for police on there. But one of the things I changed, I put on there where an incident is ambassador resolved. So I wasn't recording where we took care of something where we didn't have to call the police. So now I'm starting to keep count of those numbers when we take care of those. The pictures that I'm sending around, those are just some of the ideas. They're just mock-ups. I know it'd probably be trademark issues and everything with those that we could do, put on the branding on the groups so people can see with the deal, with the management district on there, they can see that we're not just the management district. We got that management district. We can add QR codes on there and everything so people can know who we are. Short as sweet as I can make it.
Well, David's always there when you need him, and phone calls.
And the issue that I talked about with you at 325 West Main, where Sawyer's was at, with the guys sleeping there and everything, I got them moved. The bad thing is they moved to Sunrise Bakery.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that.
I don't think we really have any committee reports. Does anybody have anything committee report-wise? Kate, Clay, anybody?
I'd like to make a comment about David, how he's saved us at the Thoroughbred Park. We had overnight campers, and David worked very close with Parks and Rec and the police department. I have a contact at the police department, lieutenant. and they cut the bushes down, they're protecting, hiding the mechanical equipment for the fountains and all the rest. And it's open now, and they're gone. And David did it.
So no more pictures every morning from you?
No more not yet.
Not yet, good.
I go in every morning with my camera in the hallway.
I know, I get them, yeah. Thank you, David. Any reports, anybody, committees? I think, we really haven't met. We'll be meeting this coming month now that Carla's transitioned in. She'll be involved in every one of these committees, but I think we've already talked about those. The next meeting is September the 7th. You want to Zoom, or do you want to do in person? I did a vote count, it was like 50-50. It doesn't matter to me. We get probably good attendance Zooming. It's convenient. This is good attendance. I just wanted people to see Carla. But we'll go back and Zoom on the 7th, if that's okay. You good with that?
Both or just Zoom?
We'll just do, well, we can do, I'll be down here, so if you want to come sit with
I'll be
Carla and
here.
I, that'd be great. If you don't want to, do what you want.
I hang out with you guys.
Come on, hang out with us. We got coffee and water. Anything else, anybody? Thank you all. It was a good conference. Kate, go ahead.
Just a thought, given the fact that the art grant now is reduced, but the lighting grant has increased, wondering whether there should be a lighting committee to review requests for, I assume that's how they'll come in, is requests for additional lighting, or are there other?
See, I always
thoughts
looked at
about
that as property improvement. I mean, maybe not. I mean, you're right. I always thought that was like a property improvement.
But then would there be an
thing.
application for that, or is it going to be separate?
Yeah. Clay, have you seen any applications in that for lighting only? No. Okay. See you, Larry. Thank you. We ought to think about that, okay?
Just how that money
Yeah,
is
yeah.
disposed? Yeah.
Thanks, guys. We're adjourned. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you.